did a very, very bad thing. To whom, sir? To whom? Yes, sir. Well, I don't know.
My name is Paul Conroy. I'm an American citizen from Hastings, Michigan. I'm a civilian truck driver for Creston, Roland, and Thomas. And I've been taken hostage somewhere in Iraq.
You realize what you've done to my wife?
They still have that. Yeah.
That was a little out of sync.
Gregory Peck, Bullseyeing Womp Rats.
That must have been it, yes.
Crossover film. Hi, I'm Mark.
I'm Tom.
And we are the
Cinemaniacs.
So,
yes,
boy, what a weekend it was.
Okay.
We both saw movies.
We did.
I didn't travel quite in the way I usually do.
That's true, just down to Boston.
You may hear me enunciating better and a bit more wide-eyed than normal.
I, on the other hand,
we both were in
I'm
Boston
on the other
yesterday.
side. Yeah, we both were. I was
That's funny.
With my son. It was my older son Benjamin was running the Harvard ComSciCon, which is a graduate.
The underachiever son.
Yes, exactly
Yes.
right. Yeah, you know, we had high hopes for him, but Walter will be better. So.
You have two, so if one doesn't work out, you can
Right,
pin
he's
all your hopes and
the
dreams on
emergency
second.
backup kid.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We were down, we saw David Cross, comedian, actor, what have you, at the Wilbur in Boston. That was an incredibly funny show. And a family brought two very young children to an extremely R-rated comedy show. So as I like to say, we got some exclusive content when he saw those kids. And throughout the show, kept going back to it. And you're like, did you enjoy the explicit sexual references I just threw in there? Speaking of explicit sexual references, we have wonderful films to discuss today.
Right.
Would you care to delve into the first
I'll
film?
be happy to if you like. It's been a while, but nobody's changed. It picks right up after the first one. Similar to some live action, not science fiction, but like futuristic hero movies you might have seen. Superheroing has been outlawed. You can't do it. What's going to happen to crime? It's going to go way, way up. Well, there's some people who want to stop that, and the only way you can really do that is to bring back The Incredibles.
Thanks, folks. And once again, welcome back.
So 14 years after the
Has it
original.
been 5 or 17? Yeah, something like that. When you went to see it, did they have the disclaimer where all of the actors are saying, hey, it's been a long time, but it'll be, yeah, that was sort of amusing.
Again, exclusive content for the theater.
Yes.
It's like this little, sometimes I'll see that in larger chain cinemas. There'll be a little
Right.
thing they shoot with the actors saying, hey, thanks so much for coming out to the movies to see this and blah, 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 and now enjoy Great Smoky Roadblock
Right.
3. In this case, it was basically the actors apologizing for how long it
Right.
took for this movie to get made, which was pretty funny. And it's cool to see, like, oh yeah, Craig T. Nelson does the voice of Mr. Incredible, and Holly Hunter is Elastigirl, and Sam Jackson as
of course, you can't miss him.
Frozone. There's no, you know that. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's all. Everybody's back. That's what I enjoyed most about this. The animation, of course, is spectacular. It's wonderful to see that. I, however, was disappointed in the storyline. I found it to be more of the same. As much as I like Sam Jackson, his character, Frozone, isn't all that interesting. He's Iceman, basically, and that's okay. And I don't think this is getting too picky on an animated film because Pixar is for adults, but it also appeals to kids. So I don't feel that The Incredibles is a kids movie, and so I feel okay, for want of a better term, overly criticizing this, in that with Frozone's character, I thought they really twisted the storyline just to work him into it. I didn't find any of the opposing characters, the villains, terribly interesting. I found a lot of the plot twists pretty mundane. Oh, gee, that's all it takes to defeat the bad guy. So ultimately, unfortunately, I was pretty disappointed in The Incredibles 2. I give it, about a 5 or a 6 on a scale of 10. But apparently nobody else cares because holy moly, the box office was banging.
So I saw this at Keene Cinemas,
Yep.
where we're located in town here, and the line stretched from one end of the snack bar. Well, they use the snack bar as a ticket counter as well sometimes.
Right.
So it went almost the full length of the lobby. It's a wide lobby. The one side of the snack bar all the way to the end of the wall, and that was all. And they were moving people right through. But
Yep.
it was. I think everybody went to see Incredibles 2 yesterday, maybe because it was Father's Day as well, and everybody got there 10 minutes before showtime. So I didn't mind. I was super early for a movie I was going to see. I loved this movie.
Okay.
I have forgotten how much I liked the first Incredibles because it was a
wonderful.
kid's movie and I saw it a long time ago, but I loved it when I saw it. And at that time we were in, if I hearken my mind back as much as I can to when the original came out, we weren't getting a lot of Bond movies, and Incredibles has a very spy movie, 60s
It's got
spy
such
movie
a great
vibe to it.
soundtrack to it and
A
everything.
great retro soundtrack, an
Yeah.
amazing production design and look. So I loved the original. I don't think I've seen it since it came out. And then I saw this, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I love these movies. The production design is amazing. There were so many times I wished I could freeze the frame and you would get an amazing painting in terms of light and shadow and lighting and color and composition. And it's not like, I thought about the Kong Skull Island, which I didn't like.
Right.
It was a visual mess, and every once in a while they would hold on a shot that you know was a concept art painting, and you're like, and there's the concept art.
Right.
Whereas in this, it was part of the flow of the movie. It was just so well laid out. There's a 3D option for this movie, which I did not partake of.
Nor did I.
I can see where moments would have worked in 3D.
I think moments might have just flipped me the heck out.
Okay, there's a sequence. The bad guy in this movie is called the Screen Slaver,
Right.
and he or she utilizes strobing effects on a screen to hypnotize people to do their bidding. And apparently, some places now have been putting up notices saying there are
I bet.
there are sequences of flashing lights in this movie that may cause people
you're
to
epileptic
freak
or-
out and
yeah.
kill the queen or something. So this film again is something. It's like they listen to me. Now we're on in California, so maybe they do.
They probably
I've
do.
been saying for a while now, every superhero movie for me does not need to be the end of the world. It does not have to be a universe-sucking vortex in which all life hangs in the balance.
Right.
How about they stop a runaway train? And in this movie, they do. In this movie, there's at least one sequence of stopping a runaway train and a runaway boat. And it's like a team working together to solve an immediate problem, not some kind of alien invasion and all this other junk that frankly becomes tiresome, and the stakes are, after a while, it's like, oh, it's the end of the world again in this fourth superhero movie we've gotten this year. So this movie is a much smaller scale thing. It is set in a strange world. It looks
Yeah.
like the early 60s, but then their TVs are widescreen. Or there's some little technology. That's a touchscreen. That looks like now. So it's kind of this weird, funky place. But I love the production design so much. The music, as you say, the look. There's a reference that is got to be a fraction of a frame that was in the movie, where it's a nightscape of the city, and you see all these corporate logos on buildings, and you see Quest Industries. Now, if you're a fan of Johnny Quest like I am, it made me smile, and I'm like, did I really see that? And then the rest of the movie, I'm scouring every frame to see if they show it again. But later on, characters are watching Johnny Quest on TV, so that to me says, yeah, that was put in
All
there.
the stuff they're watching on TV,
Oh.
and they seem to be doing that a lot, or lots of fun little references.
So this movie is dense in a good way. I think it would hold up to repeat viewings a lot. There was an all-ages crowd that I saw it with who seemed to like it a lot. It's very funny. The action is really well rendered. I always say the best action I see in movies are in kids' movies because they're not afraid to actually let you see what's going on, and there's very little of the bogosity that drives me crazy about modern films. So I loved it. It's long. It's
Yes.
over 2 hours, but I never felt the length. I didn't mind the way the villain was. The villain was sort of dispatched somewhat easily.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I thought the look was really cool. So to make it short, I loved The Incredibles too. So speaking of films that involve groups of people,
Yes.
we have a film based on a true story, based on my research, not really based too much on a true story, about a group of friends who have been playing the same juvenile game for 30 years. As from childhood to adults, they're it in the game of tag.
Showtime will be announced loud and clear to get you back to your car in time.
So, go ahead.
I didn't find this funny.
Oh, okay.
I didn't. It didn't look that great from the trailer to me.
See, I was really looking forward
It's
to
an amusing premise.
Yeah.
It is based on a true story. I did look it
Who
up.
cares?
And
what I
exactly,
don't
it doesn't
get.
matter. not really based all that much on fact,
Right.
other than that there is a group of friends who, starting in high school into the present day, have been playing this game of tag for one month out of the year. They try to tag each other, and it's this way that they've all remained connected over the years.
Right.
It's an excuse to be in each other's lives for 1 month. And there, as the trailer shows, somebody was, tapped on the shoulder, "Hey, you're it," while his wife was giving birth and stuff like that. And that's amusing. It's a good cast.
Yep.
But I just didn't find the content funny. For me, the best stuff was some of the, I'll steal a little of your thunder, but I won't talk much. Jeremy Renner is the guy who's never been tagged.
Right.
And they paint him to be like a martial arts ninja kind of guy. So some of the sequences, the way he avoids being tagged, it's like a Jackie Chan movie. And some of that was pretty funny and well executed and well shot. But a lot of it was just kind of sloppy, like the action, so to speak, when they were chasing somebody was so sloppy you could barely see it, and just kind of tossed off. So stuff that should have been impressive or amusing. And the humor was just, it was like moronic frat boy crap. It was really lowbrow, lazy. The writing was so lazy. It opens up with John Hamm walking down a hallway talking to himself, telling you everything you need about his character.
Right.
He's like, you're the CEO of a Fortune 800 company. You're about to be interviewed by the Wall Street Journal. You got to be cool. I'm like, really? And then, so he's being interviewed, this opening setup, he's being interviewed by this Wall Street Journal reporter. Apparently there really was a Wall Street Journal article about these guys. And she tags along with the group during this whole thing. So throughout the movie, it's like, well, the thing you need to know about Jeff is this. It's just so ham-fisted exposition. I was just rolling my eyes until I had a headache. There was an audience with me when I saw it, not a very big one. And the only things they really seemed to laugh at much were the really lowbrow stuff, which told me about
Same
that
here.
audience.
Yep.
And I don't find Hannibal Buress that funny. He's got this super low-key, deadpan, just saying stuff. And I don't know if it's I don't find him funny or I didn't find the material funny, but I just thought this was a huge waste of time and way too long for what it was.
I was looking forward to this, and I was disappointed certainly in both the comedic level of it and the quote-unquote action bit of it. My favorite parts were the scenes where Jeremy Renner comes off, and it's so unbelievable. And as you said, they say it's based on a true story, but as I'm watching it, I'm saying I clearly don't believe this. But those are my favorite sequences where he does all of this. It's like the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes bit, where he'll recount exactly what's going to have happened beforehand, and then it happens.
I never thought about that, but it is.
And those were fun. I did sort of enjoy, just as kind of a side note, that in this situation with a bunch of regular guys, that's the only situation where Hawkeye can be the super guy, because in all of the Avengers, it's like, what's Hawkeye doing up there? He can't do anything.
It's fantastic aim.
Right. So this guy. So I had a little fun with that. This didn't. Again, it didn't try to be. Well, it did try to be something more than that. They come off at the end with this real touching, sentimental bit where one of them is going to die, and can he please tag Jeremy Renner? And you're wondering, is it fake or real or not? And that didn't work. They have this strange subplot where the two of these guys have been wooing and swooning over this girl in high school. Yeah, which makes no sense. Why is that even in there? I don't know. Unless it's about friendships and, I just ultimately, was kind of disappointed in this. I think this might be a lot more fun on video, when you just got nothing to do and you're watching it at home. But in the long run, I thought Jeremy Renner steals the show, and he's not in it that much.
And at the end of the film, they do what I like generally, which is you see all this footage, it looks like it was from CBS this morning, of the actual guys tagging each other like their own footage of it, and pictures of the real gang. And that looked more like it would have been a more interesting movie to me.
Well, what surprised me was how, if we can believe it, how it looked, the costumes that they would put on to do it looked like exactly the ones that were in the movie.
Yeah.
So that was amusing too. So stick around to the end and watch some of those.
Speaking of films that are comedies, speaking of a film that was a comedy that I actually thought was funny, out now in theaters from Magnolia Pictures, so it's an indie release, probably less likely to be in your local multiplex, but it might be, is a new film starring Robert Pattinson, who folks would know from, I'd like to say Water for Elephants, because that was a good movie. Others might say the Twilight films. He stars as a man moving across the Old West with a preacher looking to save the damsel.
While you relax and stretch, visit our concession where you'll find something to please you.
Misleading trailer, really.
Okay, I don't know that I'd watched that trailer before.
Right.
That's really not a very good trailer
No.
for a movie that I liked a lot.
Okay.
It's a
Well, not-
comedy.
right, yeah, that's
It's
the
a
problem.
silly comedy. I don't know if I would say it's Blazing Saddles silly because it's played
No,
dead
yeah.
straight the whole time. It's
Right.
not like Waka Waka at all. But it's so Pattinson. I don't want to say too much about this because there's two mighty large twists in this film. Pattinson shows up in this seaside western town, kind of. He comes out in a boat and he's got this little tiny miniature horse with him, and he's looking for a preacher. He's paid to go and rescue his girlfriend who's been kidnapped and marry them because they're true lovers. And then things happen along the way that you will never see coming. And it is brutal at times. There's old Western type violence that comes out of nowhere, but it's also extremely funny. So I think when I started watching this, I didn't realize how funny it was going to be.
Right.
And I was like laughing out loud watching it, which I don't do much with comedies. And it's gorgeous. The like Monument Valley kind of landscapes and the raw nature, a lot of nice wide shots. I mean, it's beautiful to look at and really, really funny. You have some. It's not a very big cast. It's Pattinson and Mia Wasikowska, who people would recognize from the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland films and a lot of other things. And Robert Forster, who I didn't realize would be in it, is in the beginning of the film. And I really had a good time. Pattinson I don't know from much, but he's really good in this.
Right. Unfortunately, I know him from Twilight.
And
so I went to see that.
I've seen him in Water for Elephants, I think was the
Right.
only thing I've seen him in. And he pulls off a convincing American accent in this film, and his wide-eyed, sort of idiot earnestness is very amusing.
Yeah.
And then turns strange a little bit later in the film when some things are revealed. I really don't want to say too much about this. This is one I would highly recommend people
it's tough
see
to give away.
in the theater on the big screen because it's so gorgeous to look at, and it's really funny. Don't let the trailer make you think that this is as like this trailer makes it look kind of like quirky art house funny, but it's flat out funny and it's flat out ridiculous and it's straight faced funny. So I had a really good time with Damsel.
Right, it's clearly smart filmmaking. It caught me by surprise because I was expecting an upfront Western, something much more serious and straightforward. I was bowled away at the cinematography. It's just gorgeous and fun to know, nice to know that areas like that still exist. But yeah, what struck me ultimately was how funny it was. And so it's like you say, you can't really talk about a lot of the specifics because it's going to give it away. But if don't take that trailer at heart, because it is clearly Damsel's a lot funnier than that certainly was.
Speaking of the Old West,
Or the old films, maybe.
or the old films, or a new frontier of lawlessness.
Yes, you got to be careful when you're out in the inner city. Throw yourself way, way back and catch up some super hot kind of cop guy who's going to make things happen in the inner city time. Let's check out a remake for Superfly. So I did not see this remake. So
We present that as informational.
there you go. That must be it.
I don't know, again, not having seen it, let's just shoot our mouth off about it for a little while. The original Superfly is a movie I never thought was very good.
Right.
Amazing Curtis Mayfield soundtrack that I own and love, but I always thought the movie was kind of weak and sloppy. This looks to be, in broad strokes, the same thing, which is about somebody who's in the criminal underworld and they're looking to make one big score to get out, and maybe other people don't want him to get out or don't want him to make it out alive. So your guess is as good as mine in Superfly 2018. So that's all that we had to see in theaters this week. We thank our friends at the Latches Theater in Brattleboro, Vermont for sponsoring our program. And now we move on to home video, that which can be screened on the service device platform format thing of your choice. First up is a film that was in theaters not that long ago. Again, based on a true story. It is the story behind what is apparently the #1 Christian rock radio song of all time. I've never heard of the tune, barely know about the film, but they're both called I haven't heard of them. I Can Only Imagine.
Tony Tiger, a great way to sweeten up the day.
So this was huge in the theaters for a little while, and as you say, it tells you what I listen to, and I don't listen to music that much really anyway, unless it's from the 70s or 80s, or soundtracks. But a hugely popular song, and this apparently just retells the story. A very heart-rending, very touching story about how this guy, in dealing with the troubles in his life, apparently spent like a couple of hours just jotting down these thoughts and feelings and writing this music to create this song, and how it affected a lot of other people in his life, and other people in his life had affected him. Dennis Quaid in this, with talk of Academy Award nominations for Quaid. But it was an interesting film, just kind of targeted at kind of niche audience, I think.
So it sort of raided the catacombs of this guy's memory.
In some respects. So apparently he's throwing it over to me because I guess only one of us saw that one. But we can talk about catacombs and honeycombs and any other kind of combs. This woman doesn't need a comb because her hair is constantly disheveled as she's running through and jumping over bridges and diving off of waterfalls and things like that. Lara Croft is back. No, it's not Angelina Jolie. It's another actress whom the theaters and studios are hoping you will now associate with her, because it looks like we're going to see many, many films following the action adventures of the Tomb Raider.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off!
Leap for your life.
Exactly.
The movie. So I don't care about video games, so apparently this is very close to a more recent Tomb Raider game.
Okay.
I'm told, I read. I saw the other movies, which I thought were fun enough in the theater. I never saw one more than once, didn't need to, but they were entertaining. And this I liked. Again, I don't really care about Tomb Raider or Lara Croft, so make a good one and I'm there for it. Make a bad one and I don't want to see him anymore. So Alicia Vikander is good. Mm-hmm. She's you're basically, I'm not going to use the word I hate. We're starting over again with Lara Croft. We're seeing her become the Tomb Raider. And she is a young lady whose father has died, and he was on this quest for a long time, and she wants to pick up where he left off and find this thing. So you see her gaining skills. You see her in the beginning, she's like a MMA fighter or a kickboxer. It makes it logical that she does what she does. She's very athletic.
A bit more believable.
And likes games and chases and things like that, and can ride a dirt bike. So what I liked about this is that it was very, as far as a Tomb Raider movie can be, it's very reality-based. 90% of what she does physically, you kind of buy. Now, the trailer highlights her leaping across, great distances in a single bound. That pushes it a little bit, and hanging off things and going like this when something goes right by. I hate that.
Right.
That and the landing on one knee. If I never saw another one of those, that would be great. I love that Deadpool actually made a reference to the landing on one knee thing. And even the stuff in the movie, I don't want to get too far into it, but it is far less in the supernatural craziness as opposed to very much explainable how and why things happen, which I just thought it was a neat approach, because the other ones were Lara Croft against ancient curses and crazy creatures and all kinds of stuff, and this was very grounded in more or less the real world. So I would be happy to see more of these. I don't know if this one did that well, so I don't know.
Think so, yeah.
It's not bubblegummy like the other ones were. I was saying off air, this is similar to the first Daniel Craig Bond movie in that they reined in the ridiculousness and they said, okay, we're going to start over again. This is how it started. I don't care how things start, by the way. If anybody's listening, I don't care how they got the limp or the scar. But I had fun with this cleverly titled film, Tomb Raider.
Yes. I agree with what you said. At the time, as I was watching it, I went in kind of with a chip on my shoulder, although I wasn't crazy at all about the Angelina Jolies. Those were always in the back of my mind and still felt kind of current, even though they were probably, 2 decades old, 3 decades old.
They might be, yeah. 2.
I thought our lead actress was perfectly good. They, in many respects, the majority of this film, she shot much like the actual Wonder Woman movie was, where it's not ogling her, and she's not there as a sex symbol. She's there as an action-adventure heroine. And so I thought that was fun. I did have problems with some of the stuff that she did, but chucked it off to it being, come on, look, it's an action-adventure film. What I did enjoy about it is, you're right, the majority of the stuff that she did I could believe. I found the story, and I think this is a bit of a problem with I'll use the term reboot or even remake, that I'd seen it so many times before. It seemed that they could have done more with it. I was a little troubled by her accent, which seemed a little thick. I guess, you know, it's based on a video game, and so in the video game, the character didn't talk. Why does she have an English accent? I guess it's because Dad was English and he's raised and all that. So anyway, there's just bits and pieces. If you're not a huge fan of the originals, that might trouble you. If you are a huge fan of the original, it might trouble you either. But if you go in just expecting something new, as you say, I think I'd be happy to see another one of the Tomb Raiders as they come out. I don't know that it did well enough, but you know, as long as it makes a buck, the studios will keep an eye on it.
Well, it's funny enough, as we're speaking of tender human drama
Yes.
that is reality-based, such as a Tomb Raider, we have the next film to discuss, which I didn't see, but I'll give a stab at it because I know how to read a synopsis. It's like anybody's business. So we have a young, tender, human interpersonal relationship comedy tale here of what happens when a young man decides to expose his homosexuality to those around him, and hilarity or not ensues in a film entitled Love, Simon.
You can reach it quickly, comfortably, and with utmost economy.
So a good bit of buzz about this when it first came out. Great performances all around. Everybody in it is terrific. It's a mixture of out-and-out funny stuff with some tender moments that you could kind of expect. I mean, it's about human beings being human beings, and parents having to accept things about their kids that they might not know, and friends having to do the same, and how you get bullied for being different. Overall, I thought this was kind of a surprising little gem in an otherwise, at the time, kind of a boring year. I thought Love, Simon was really pretty powerful, but also funny, primarily based on, well, certainly the scripting and the performances. Really
I heard
strong.
nothing but good things about this.
Yeah.
Tried to see it in the theater, but did not have time.
Right.
Usually, me not having time is a polite way of saying I don't want to see it, but this was a case where I actually didn't have time. Up next is a film documentary. Speaking of light family dramas, this one's not.
Right.
A documentary about a group of lesbians in Texas who were accused of a heinous crime and sent to jail, a crime that arguably they did not commit. This is what happens when you live southwest of Salem.
3 completely new kinds of Ford cars for 1960.
Well, lighthearted, like
Yeah.
you said, family drama.
Yeah, it was a basket of chuckles. This
I
one was.
bet.
This is very good. This is a documentary that was made, I believe, 2015. It's just out on video from FilmRise now on DVD, and it's as it shows. It is a documentary about these women in Texas. I believe it was Texas in the early 2000s. Now, I'm going to explain this to you, and while I'm watching the movie, I keep reminding myself, oh, this was how long ago was this? No, this was not that long ago in terms. This is the kind of thing you would expect happening many decades ago. Basically, a group of women who were lesbians, who were friends. Some of them may have been attached, but it was just a group of friends who there were 2 children in their care, children of relatives, and accusations come up that these women did inappropriate things to these children, and they're basically put on trial, and the southwest of Salem refers to, it was like a witch hunt. These
Right.
are people who, the prosecuting attorneys and the authorities in this area were like equating lesbianism with Satanism, down to saying that these are the rituals that they do to people, and this is how these people are, and it was ridiculous. And of course, the jury were biased people as well. So you're watching this, and you're just like slapping your forehead, saying this is ridiculous. Now, you can say these people might have done something for whatever reason, but trying to say this is what those people do, it's just stupid. So you're watching this unfold through not reenactments, but the contemporary interviews with these women in jail, and then you see a lot of home video footage, because this happened in the early 2000s. So there's all kinds of footage of all the players involved, so you can see what they look like. It's not just stills. And then some interviews with family members, but not much. And there is an arc to this story. This story has an ending. It was very similar to me in broad strokes to the Paradise Lost documentary series about the West Memphis Three, who were 3 males in West Memphis, Arkansas, Tennessee, somewhere down there, who were accused of killing children. And it was because, they must have done it because they wore black clothing and like heavy metal.
Right.
And they were basically, run up the flagpole and put away for that. So this film goes into the testimony of the women themselves, what they say happened, what the prosecution said happened, and then where it goes from there. Do they ever get out of jail? Are their names cleared? It had an ending that was surprising to me, I shall say. And so it isn't just these people stating their case and twisting in the wind. It goes somewhere. So I thought it was really good. I would put Paradise Lost above this in terms of how compelling it was, but this speaks to different things. This speaks to persecution for who you are, and people who arguably did nothing wrong being sent up the river because somebody didn't like the way they conducted themselves. So I thought it was quite good. Speaking of persecution, we have a man whose only crime was to love. Predator! No, this is, he actually played Predator, funny enough. That's a different story. This is a film now out from the MVD Rewind collection, who we've been talking about pretty frequently here on the show. It is a release of the early 90s video store shelf clogger, Lionheart.
Tender, too. So make Sunbeam bread your favorite choice.
Harrison Page screaming very much like he did on the Sledgehammer TV show, which I was a huge fan of. So I'm not a big Van Damme fan.
I remember this originally when it came out, I think.
I said, sure. Video store shelf clogger. He has his fans.
Right.
I never
like
cared.
A lot of his stuff, but
he was. To me, there's like the 80s action heroes, and to me, he's like more 90s,
right.
Which I devalue personally. So I always liked, for me, the good Van Damme movie was Hard Target, because it was well made, and it was a movie that was made around him, and John Woo did it. Everybody says Bloodsport is the Van Damme movie. He made a lot of them. He made a lot of garbage. He still makes a lot of garbage. This is one I had borrowed from a friend on videotape that he had dubbed off cable or off another videotape in those days. So it was 4x3 EP recording with tracking lines on the top or the bottom, because my VCR wasn't his. So this was like seeing this movie again for the first time on this MVD edition. The movie looks great. Well, the movie looks as great as it's going to look.
Great, okay.
It looks way better than the copy I saw long ago. Interestingly enough, there are two versions of the movie on this disc. There's the version that was released here as Lionheart. Original, I believe, international version entitled Léon, not to be confused with the Luc Besson film about the professional that was also called Léon. Basically, his character is Léon in this film. He's this guy in he's in the Foreign Legion, and he finds out that his brother has been killed in a criminal activity in the U.S. So he basically busts out, beats the crap out of a bunch of guys to bust out of the Foreign Legion to come back to help, his brother's wife and child. And and the way he goes about doing that is he winds up being an underground fighter, like a bare knuckle brawler or whatever. He hooks up with Harrison Page, who's sort of his manager or something, and they go through all these fights in these various locations against all kinds of crazy guys. And it was much better than I expected it would be. I thought it was going to be garbage, because I think most Van Damme movies are not very good. He's not much of an actor. He could spread his legs real far and he could kick people, but other than that, he didn't have a lot going for him. He actually is not bad in the drama in this movie. There's a lot of scenes of tenderness. Now, I kind of wonder, not knowing the Lionheart version of this film, the version I watched was the Leon cut, which was much longer. I wonder if what was lost for the Lionheart version was all of the tender moments and the Van Damme acting and all that stuff to just speed it up and make it more of a straight, cable VHS-friendly action movie. But the drama kind of works in this. The template for this story it could have been lifted from a script in the 40s. It's somebody, it's the boxer trying to do one more fight to raise money for the little girl's operation. In broad strokes, that's what this movie is.
Right.
I thought Van Damme was surprisingly good in it. The action is pretty good. I mean, it's not Hong Kong action, but it's from an era where they wanted to show you what was going on. They maybe cheat a little more towards upper body stuff, which I didn't understand. I mean, he's a full body fighter, so a bit more of that would have been good, but it's presented fine. Harrison Page was the revelation for me in this movie. People might know him from Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. You might, if you remember the Sledgehammer TV show in the 80s, which was a spoof of Mike Cameron. It was a spoof of Dirty Harry, basically. That was really funny. He was the captain on that show. I didn't recognize him for a while in this movie. I'm like, who's that guy? And I realized who it was, and he was giving a really good performance. He was a different guy than I usually see in movies.
This guy can act.
I came away from this like, man, Harrison Page is really good in this movie. Otherwise, it's a standard early 90s action film.
Right.
The disc, again, these MVD Rewind collection, the cover looks like an old Media Home Entertainment box. The slipcase has like fake video store stickers on it if you want to have that on there. And it's loaded with stuff. There's 1 or 2 commentaries on the film. There are all kinds of interviews and behind the scenes and making of stuff. So it is a very deluxe edition for this movie that in my mind was like a minor entry in the Van Damme canon.
Yeah.
But if you're a fan of this movie, oh boy, it's your birthday and Christmas. So I had a surprisingly good time with Lionheart.
Excellent.
So that's all we had to discuss now that we each are at the bottom of our list now.
Yep.
Was there anything else you wanted to present to these fine folks?
Not really. It will be a couple of weeks before we're back, I believe.
We are. I'm away next Monday on personal business, vacation, going to a concert, seeing an old friend of mine. So we won't be doing a show for 2 weeks, so it'll be rapidly paced when we come back. We'll have Jurassic World. Is that what it's called? Jurassic World, yeah, to
Fallen
discuss.
Kingdom.
The Fallen Kingdom. And we also have other big screen titles. Somebody's going to release something else that will probably be not about dinosaurs next week. And then a lot of video releases. I know there will be at least 2 Arrow titles to discuss and more film rise for me to blab about to you. So if there's no new business?
No new business for me.
Me either. We'll just take this next 5 minutes for a moment of
Movies
silence.
at CheshireTV.org or sponsors at CheshireTV.org if they want to sponsor the program.
Apparently, I spoke in
seeking.
error.
No, that's okay. Latches has been a wonderful sponsor for us for many, many years. And there's just Darren's having some time thinking about it. They may re-sponsor us. I just haven't been able to get in touch. So
we're free agents, so to speak.
Exactly.
You want to hitch your placard to this here gravy train. Won't get you any money, but if you want to hitch it to this gravy train, movies at CheshireTV.org.
Elon Musk, did you hear that?
Put us on a rocket. Fire us into space. We'll do a show from a space station. We could do an electric show.
That's
We're cool. Until then, I'm Mark.
And I'm Tom.
And we are
the Cinemaniacs.